right, everybody, wind up your cable boxes or your modems or whatever you're using to watch this TV show. I'm here at the Marcon Sci-Fi Convention in Columbus, Ohio with Dr.Demento, famous radio DJ, syndicated radio DJ, and expert on novelty records, commonly known as Dementia. Good to have you here, Doctor.
Well, nice to be here, Robert. We're the Bowtie Brothers today.
Oh, that's right. I didn't realize that. Well, listen. All right. We actually met a few years back you were the Grand Marshal of the Pasadena Doodah Parade.
Yeah, that's quite an event. It is a spoof of the Rose Parade and features things like the briefcase drill team, and people throw tortillas, though they try to discourage that, and lots of people dress up in outlandish costumes and have a great time. There's lots of kazoo bands and that sort of thing instead of marching bands.
Yes, well, I appear regularly there, and just last month I also appeared in the Ocean City, New Jersey Doodah Parade. I encourage you to come up for that sometime. In Ocean City, we ripped off that parade in Pasadena. But one thing I want to ask you, okay, I can understand why you were there at the Doodah Parade. It's like a parody. It salutes the wild, the wacky, the tacky. What are you doing here at a sci-fi convention?
Well, Marcon asked me. There are a lot of people who come to Marcon who listen to my show, because I do play the odd sci-fi related song once in a while, like Star Trekkin' or Star Drek or slime creatures from outer space. Lots of things like that get heard on my show, and people enjoy those. And so this is the third time I've been at Marcon, and it's always a blast. Okay,
yes. So, I mean, is sci-fi necessarily considered a funny genre? I mean, I tend to think of like sci-fi comedy like Ghostbusters, maybe Men in Black, and things like that. I mean, how much funny sci-fi is there in Dementia?
Well, actually, there's quite a bit. One of the things that they do here at Marcon and at other science fiction fan conventions is filking, and people make up songs based on science fiction subjects. It's kind of like folk songs, except all the songs are about things that are related to science fiction or sometimes to science. They're about TV shows, books, legends, all kinds of things. There are various branches of it. There is Celtic filking and horror filking. People make up songs on all kinds of subjects, and not all of them are funny, but a good many of them are. Some of them are very serious, but then many of them are parodies. They're parodies of rock and roll or folk songs based on science fiction subjects, and they make fun of Star Trek and things like that. I mean, Star Trek, though it has inspired us all, takes itself rather seriously at times, and that invites parody. That invites making fun of it.
So would you say Star Trek is probably the biggest sci-fi target to be made fun of?
Oh, absolutely. I'd say a good 50% of science fiction humor is somehow Star Trek related.
Or even Star Wars, maybe.
That too. There was certainly a surge of that a couple of years ago when the first episode came out.
And with more episodes to come, I'm pretty sure it'll just keep on going.
Yes, it comes in waves.
Oh, well, let's see now. So, what got you into novelty records, into funny songs, funny humor, dementia, whatever? How did you start?
I suppose it started when I was 4 years old, and my dad played me some records by Spike Jones, who was very, very popular in the 1940s and remains a legend today. Those were the first examples of funny music that I heard, like classical pieces performed with gunshots and whoops and hollers in the middle. So that's what Spike Jones did, and that excited me as a 4-year-old. But actually, you flash forward 25 years or so, and I'm doing a relatively straightforward oldies show based on rare rock and roll oldies, old R&B collector's items, early rockabilly, things like that. And I open the line to requests, and I quickly find that a large number of the requests that I get are for things like the Purple People Eater and the Monster Mash, and They're Coming to Take Me Away, ha-ha, to the Funny Farm. People wanted to hear those again. Rock music had gotten rather serious in the early 1970s. Those were the days when Pink Floyd was ruling the roost, and there were spin-off groups like Yes and Emerson, Lake and Palmer doing music that was magnificent in many ways, but also it was just as serious as a symphony. So for a lot of people, some of the fun had gone out of pop music.
It was time for comedy relief.
Yeah, it was, exactly. So I helped bring it back, and that was one of the things that made the Dr. Demento show take off.
So how old is funny music, funny records? I mean, what's the oldest thing you've played?
I've played things from 1897. Funny music and stand-up comedy were among the first things that were recorded after the phonograph was invented. Stand-up comedy is easy to record without an audience anyway. You just get a guy standing up and talking down the horn into the diaphragm onto the wax cylinder. That was much easier to record than an orchestra, and people would buy cylinders with the latest humor on them. So
yeah, but no laugh track in those days, were there?
No. The most prominent of the early stand-up comedians on cylinders and later on discs was a man named Cal Stewart, who played a character named Uncle Josh, who was we might call him a hayseed, a New England farmer who was constantly being befuddled by the newfangled inventions of the big city, but in many cases triumphing over them and showing that the old farmer was really the wisest after all, as stupid as he may seem. But anyway, since he had to make his recordings without an audience, every time he came to the punchline of one of his bits, he would laugh himself, so that the audience listening at home on their phonograph would not miss the beginning of the next sequence of funny lines. So that's how he replaced an audience.
Or maybe he did his own laugh track in those days.
Exactly. Yeah, they couldn't record live until the late 1920s.
What would you say is the most popular novelty record of all time? I'm pretty sure whatever it's the top of your 2025 every year.
On my show, it would be Fish Heads by Barnes & Barnes. That's my all-time most requested song, followed closely by Dead Puppies Aren't Much Fun by Ogden Edsel, and They're Coming to Take Me Away is my number 3 most requested song. And, of course, They're Coming to Take Me Away also enjoyed a lot of mainstream success back in the days of the novelty 45 RPM record, a genre which is pretty much extinct nowadays, but that was the main outlet for funny music from the beginning of 45s in 1949 until the late 60s or thereabouts.
Did you ever play the flip side of The Coming to Take Me Away, the 45 original flip side?
I haven't asked people to listen all the way through on the radio. It really loses its impact when you're not watching the record playing, but yes, I have played that. It's for those who haven't encountered this particular collectible, the reverse side of They're Coming to Take Me Away, ha-ha, is simply They're Coming to Take Me Away, ha-ha, played backwards.
Yeah, how big is your collection now? I mean, you actually collect the recordings you play, and I'm pretty sure you must feel like a barn or something like that.
Oh, yeah, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 500,000 records, counting all the speeds and sizes and all the trash and the treasures.
Yeah, I mean, and I know there must be something to maintain that collection. I mean, you said once that you would never play a dirty record on your show. Is that true?
Well, yeah, they sound better if you clean them. Many records have been handled in the past by people who were eating pizza and trying to run the record player at the same time. That is a no-no if you're trying to take good care of your records. Records have to be handled with care more than CDs do, and so fingerprints eventually get crusty and they go every time they pass the stylus. And of course records can get scratched, but in fact, other than that, you just have to make sure that you don't sit on them or leave them in direct sunlight or on top of the radiator, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, it sounds like, you lose the fun with the digital age now. I mean, MP3s, there's nothing to hold on to. It's just a file on your disc. I mean, where's the fun in that?
Well, I agree. I still prefer at least having a compact disc to just having it on the computer.
Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, now the thing is, for you, you're harder to pick up actually on the radio. I mean, years ago in the 1970s, I could pick you up in New York City, and then you disappeared, and now you're back, but only on the internet. Like, I have to listen to you on a radio station way out in Fort Bragg, California. No, not Fort Bragg.
Yeah, Fort Bragg, California.
Okay, yeah, KOZT, but at midnight Eastern time.
Yeah, that is a very small station, but they have a quite large bandwidth on their website, so a lot of people tune in their internet facility.
Actually, it's not as wide as you would think, because if you tune in late, you don't get in because the server's already filled.
Yeah, that's right. That is the great handicap of internet radio. One of these days, I'm sure they'll find a way around that, as they have cured most things with technology. But at the moment, that is one of the problems with internet radio. As for on-the-air radio, we are still on about 75 stations, including a very strong one here in Columbus, where I am sitting right now at Marcon. But radio has gone through a lot of changes. I don't know if you follow the radio biz, but over the last 10 years, a few giant companies have bought up the majority of the important radio stations in America. And while this does not make it impossible for a maverick independent such as the Dr.Demento show to be heard, it does make it more difficult, especially in the largest markets such as New York City.
Have you ever thought of maybe turning tables on the trend? Because, like, you pretty much been shut out by a lot of the major markets due to narrowcasting. Everything's all talk. You have these narrowly defined rock formats, music formats, news formats, and cable TV certainly done that. So we have an all-cartoon channel now. We have several all-cartoon channels on cable TV now. We have an all-comedy TV channel. So maybe it's time for an all-novelty record radio station?
Well, perhaps. I'll certainly entertain offers from any people with their free-floating capital that they like to invest in that new idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yes.
Are there any venture capitalists out there who would like to take a flyer on entertaining people on cable or on the internet in a new way? Here I am!
Wow, so I know, but I'm glad that you're keeping up, you're keeping this genre alive, and you're helping to propagate it. You probably, how many new recordings do you get every year?
Well, let's see. I know we get about 15 or 20 every week, so that would be certainly close to 1,000 a year. Mostly CDs nowadays, CDRs, now that anybody can burn a CDR on their computer. So we get lots of those homemade recordings. And we still get a few cassette tapes, and once in a great while we'll still get something on vinyl. So there's 15 or 20 things a week, ranging from full album-length things to just one or two songs on a CDR, and I listen to them and play the best ones on the show. We usually introduce 4 or 5 brand new songs on the show every week.
How easy is it to break into stardom on this? I mean, Weird Al. Have you had anybody new since Weird Al?
We've had lots of new people since Weird Al. Nobody who has, shall we say, crossed over in the same way that he has. But it took him 25 years to get where he is now.
Yes, and he started off in his college restroom.
Yeah, actually, even before that, when he was still in high school, Al started sending me tapes recorded at home in his bedroom, and starting in 1976, 25 years ago this summer, I first played Alfred Yankovic, as he was then known, on my radio show, and his stuff just kept getting better. And 1979 was the year of the college bathroom recording you're referring to, My Bologna, which was the first thing of his that ever got nationally released and started getting some play outside of my show.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And I remember, because again, back in 1987, I was in the audience at the bottom line. I didn't quite look like this.
Well, by that time, Al was a star. He'd had several albums under his belt, won a Grammy, and so he was a star by that time.
And I remember Benny Bell. He's not with us anymore, Benny Bell, is he?
Oh, I'm afraid not. Benny Bell passed away last year at 90, and he lived a long and very colorful life.
In fact, Benny Bell, you may not be aware of this, he actually did a few public access TV specials, so to speak, in New York. In fact, I actually did a walk-on one of his shows. Again, I didn't look like this. And yeah, so he was actually in public access TV a few times. But but he came up with such famous hits as like Eatin' Mikey and Shaving Cream, which you made famous once again.
Yes, I have a sad story to tell you. It may hurt your feelings a bit. Last night when I went into my bathroom, I stepped in a big pile of
shaving cream. Be nice and clean. Shave every day and you'll always look keen.
Benny Bell wrote that in 1946. At that time, you could not have played that on radio and expect to keep your job and your license. That was considered to be at least softcore pornography because it was suggestive of a dirty word. But nowadays we've relaxed. The bar has been lowered, so to speak, and by Howard Stern and people of his ilk, among others. So shaving cream just sounds kind of almost innocent today, but still amusing. And I make up new verses when I do public performances.
It's one of those songs that grows with time.
Yes, indeed. So, yeah, Benny Bell was a treasure. I did quite a few shows with him in New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and he was a treasure. Was Tiny Tim on that particular show too, that you saw?
No, he was. This is essentially a one-man show in public access. I mean, he sat there with his top hat with a train that ran around it.
I was wondering about that Bottom Line show, because I know he was with me once at the Bottom Line.
Not that one I went to. This was like 1987.
Yeah, Tiny Tim, who's also left us, was another treasure. A New Yorker for many years, but wound up his career in my hometown of Minneapolis.
Oh, you're from Minneapolis.
Tiny Tim gave his last performance in the Women's Club Auditorium in Minneapolis, which is where I learned to do the waltz, the foxtrot, and the Lindy Hop as a junior high school kid.
But you never did the bunny hop.
Yes, we did, yes. Not at the Women's Club Auditorium. They were traditionalists there. But the bunny hop, which was new at the time in the 50s, we did that at high school all the time. No high school dance was complete without the bunny hop.
Tell me, were there any proliferation of novelty tunes involving bunnies?
Yeah, there's You Wanna Buy a Bunny that Spike Jones did. And, of course, everybody knows Here Comes Peter Cottontail.
Well, I thought that was more considered a kiddie record than a novelty record.
Well, the definition of a novelty record is pretty broad. I mean, something like, more recently, Barbie Girl would certainly be considered, or even Sex and Candy by Marcy Playground, which is not a funny ha-ha song, but certainly in the radio biz it was considered to be a novelty record. So the novelty is anything that is kind of new and different. So that's a very broad term. In fact, it doesn't really have a whole lot of meaning with many of the things that I play, like Frank Zappa. I do not. He did a lot of funny stuff, but the term novelty artist does not fit Frank Zappa at all well. So I tend to like to use the term novelty record just for those hits from the era of the 45 RPM single from, maybe The Thing by Phil Harris up through They're Coming to Take Me Away, Hello Mudda, Hello Fada, and probably the last really big novelty 45 was The Streak by Ray Stevens in 1974. So those I consider novelties.
Oh, so what do you call whatever comes after that now?
Funny music.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, on that note, Dr. Demento, thank you so much for spending a moment with us here.
Okay, Rabbit, don't forget to stay deep.